Go ahead, Dan.
Well, thank you, Joy. So when I retired as extension agent, I came back for 10 years working with USDA APHIS, working on invasive species outreach for tribes. And it grew from the Colville tribes and all the way to providing nationwide to tribes from this last year, Fond du Lac and Augustine and other ones. And so I just wanted to start with saying, basically we are working with educating people on what escapes USDA APHIS and customs and other things that come into our Americas, and hopefully identify them early, like Justin was talking about earlier, and doing something about it. And whether it's the spot-winged Drosophila fly, coming north and attacking our huckleberries from California in 2008 to the salmon back in 2017. I know the Upper Skagit and other tribes in that area have that under invasive species. These are non-natives, as everybody's talked about, that are threatening us, and they threaten the tribal natural, cultural, and agricultural resources. I say cultural too because they actually invade and outcompete a lot of cultural plants that are important, as well as things like huckleberries are affected by the spot-winged Drosophila and other things. So what do we do about it? Well, we build outreach and education. And one of the things we've done over the last 10 years is build those 4 tribes under their logos so that they can be posted around the reservation, put out the tribal members, and we've done hundreds of thousands of on species all across the nation. And for example, this is one of the Japanese beetle, and I work with agencies that are involved, such as Washington State Department of Ag, Department of Wildlife, and other ones, and put their notices down at the bottom, but it's always with the tribal logo at the top. And we get these cleared with the partnering agencies and then create these signs, and they're approved and final form from the tribes after the tribe has approved use of their logo for creating posters that they've said are priorities for their area. We worked with Debbie James on this. These are just examples. Tulalip tribe, we did a general one with them years ago, and then they came back and their crews were targeting these 3. So we created ones for them. And of course, USDA APHIS is the partnering agency that's funding this. And we created that. That's just an example. This is Coeur d'Alene over there working with Yolanda when she was there and showing they identified their high priorities. And we created not just paper, but also big signs, posters, hard signs they can post down at lakes and beaches. This is Upper Skagit. They wanted to not only the hard signs and flyers and other things, but these were a multi-page showing all their species that they could send it out to their tribal members and distribute it in their communities. And this is an example of an 8-page one working with Holly and them at the Colville Confederated Tribes a couple of years ago. And we updated it last year. And we updated because this was to 2019, but 8 different pages of their high priority water species. So we could put that in all of the fishing licensed places in the region and all over throughout the tribe too, showing about the program and other ones. Confederated Salish Kootenai identified their priorities, and we built signs and flyers and posters for them also. And this is an example of delivering the first versions down to the Nez Perce tribe. And you can see there's big posters we made for community centers, things like that. Handouts for individuals, for workshops or summer programs they're putting on, hard signs. And then later we worked with Anthony and came up with their updated ones. And everything from crayfish to everything else that were coming in. They identified their top ones. We worked with Anthony and Danielle, created outreach flyers for them and posters and signage. In fact, he wanted so many signs it would have broke the budget. So the hard signs are pretty expensive. So we cut back on that. But this is the delivery to Anthony, just showing examples of the hard signs here on the left and all the different posters and signage for community awareness and outreach education. And of course, there's other ones, the invasive species. We started out several years ago up there at the Lummi, and then also then the lower Elwha and a few others we created them for. And a few years later, it just turned out when I was looking maps of the word numbers were found the highest wherever we created the signs first. So it does help. And this is invasive tunicate. Somebody was talking about yesterday. They identified as a high priority at Port Gamble, Sklallam, and I think also at the Tulalip when we did that. And of course, we worked with NOAA and adapted our signs and created some for the Metlakatla. Taylor was talking about that yesterday, the hard signs and posters for their community and outreach and flyers. An Asian giant hornet we created, now it's the northern giant hornet, so we can't go back and correct it, but we worked with State Department of Ag and created posters and outreach for the Tulalip tribe and Lummi, Nooksack, and other ones up in that northwestern corner. And actually thousands of these handouts, smaller ones, 8.5 by 11 are produced every year. And they had us do another 1,000 last year to hand out to tribal members when they go out gathering. Philalip also wanted some European green crabs. So we worked with these to create the NOAA and Alaska Fish and Game and created those. And this is an example of delivery on the European green crab. And here's the Shellwater tribe. Yesterday you had Larissa talking, and they wanted both invasive plants and invasive green crab. This example, these are photos I took that she shared some yesterday while I was out there visiting, but they had over 40-some thousand European green crab and only a handful of Dungeness. So that shows how much they've replaced our Dungeness. This is an example of the delivery of them on their signs and for green crab to post down along beaches and also their hard signs. So where do you put these signs and other things? You can put them on campgrounds. You can put them other places. You can put them, this is Taylor, put them up there along the beaches on the post, and they found their first European green crab 30-some feet behind it. Or you can put them in outhouses where you have a captive audience. So they work everywhere. And so anyway, but the big thing here is we made this possible by partnering initially with USDA APHIS and then partnering with tribes. And like I said, it grew from the Colville to the Eastern Washington, then to the Pacific Northwest, and then Western United States, because as tribes seen this, their demand was high, and then it grew nationwide. And so Joy has taken over this project for Washington State, and maybe he'll grow it nationwide too as he gets his feet on the ground this last year. So I think he applied for renewed funding. It's a great project and a great resource for tribes, I think, because no tribe wants to put a U.S. Forest Service or state or county sign all over their reservation. This allows tribes to put under their logos, under their priorities, and create that, and we build it accordingly. So I'll turn it over to Joy. That's just a quick preview of what he's going to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Dan. Really incredible work, really hard shoes to follow or shoes to fill. But we are grateful that we do have continued support to continue to provide these resources and tools for you all. So instead of, please reach out to Dan if you want to follow up and keep receiving materials like this, but Dan will put you in touch with me now. And so we have the same funding to continue this work and provide these resources to you. In addition to building signs and informational awareness materials, we do have some other services that we'd like to provide. One, we have office hours every month. And so this is just a time when I'm available. You can come and ask questions, and I'll do some research to try and find answers. We also have funding to do some site visits. So if there's an opportunity to come and spend a day with you and you'd like to invite us out, let us know. Then we can really come and identify the priorities with you and work together to develop some signs. We have funding to offer workshops like this. So we're happy to do this. If there's a specific topic you'd like to have covered in a webinar or a workshop, we have support to do that and to help with that. So let us know. These are some examples. We've had workshops where we focus on forest pests and diseases. And it's not just me. Usually I'll try and bring in other experts like Justin Bush, or here's Sven sharing about invasive insects. And then again, this online workshop is partially possible because of the support we have from USDA APHIS. We're also interested in providing more kind of hands-on training on pests and diseases in the horizon, or invasive species that haven't yet arrived yet, but we want to provide some training on what to look for and what to report in case you're concerned. Then, as Dan mentioned, we have support to provide these resources. We have a lot of funding. Really, we just need to know what you want, and you're welcome to share, and we can provide those. We created this web page. It's designed to just be a source of information. It's also the space where you can submit a request for these signs or flyers or posters. So if you go to our webpage, extension.wsu.edu, invasive species/outreach, it'll take you to this page where we have some examples, and there's a materials request form you can fill out, and that will come to me, and then we'll follow up with you. Ideally, we want to just work with you to make these have the messaging that you want and the tribe, the focus on the priority species that you want. We can reproduce some of the great work that Dan has already started if you just want more copies of something that's already been produced, or we can create completely new ones. It kind of depends on what you're interested in. One thing we've had support from is making some laminated cards that you can keep in your boat or your vehicle. And so we've created a little card deck for invasive insects so far, and we're working on some with some aquatic species. And so this is an example of a different type of educational tool that we can help make. And then we are in the process of securing support for next year. And in that grant, we asked for funding to provide these boot washings, or these boot brush stations. So we hope to be able to help provide these stations so you can, visitors to your lands or your crews can wipe the seeds or anything off of their base of their boots before entering really sensitive areas like this Kukutali Preserve and Swinomish traditional homelands. So feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in that, or any of these resources. Again, we want to organize workshops and engage with you, but we also have funding to provide these resources and these educational tools.
4 minutes, Jerry.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Maria. Overall, we also hope to leverage the WSU institution and engage with some of our researchers. So if you have research needs, we want to be able to connect the researchers to your needs and address some of those needs through research and outreach. So that's kind of the long-term goal. And this is my contact information. You've probably gotten an email from me in the past few days too. So feel free to reply or let us know. But let's stay in touch and know that we're here as a resource. And thanks so much to Dan Fagerlie for really pioneering this work and this relationship with USDA APHIS. And thanks to APHIS for funding this work. And because of you and that partnership, I'm able to continue that work a little bit. But it's really because of Dan and APHIS that we have this ability to provide these resources and services. So thanks, everyone. We'll go ahead.
Thank you, Joy, too, for